Today we are going to talk generally about Chapel Haven, and then we're going to go into some breakout groups. So depending on how you registered, you'll either be going into the REACH breakout group or the ASAT group, which is our Asperger's syndrome group. But before we get started, I'm going to give an overview, hopefully, about Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. And maybe, Nate, I can have you pull that PowerPoint up while I'm chatting. But what I'd like to do right now is introduce our amazing student and parent ambassadors. What we find with both our virtual and on-the-ground information sessions is our students and parents tell the story way better than any of us on staff can tell it. And we also find that our prospective families are
You're muted, Catherine.
Yep, there we go.
There we go.
So what I'd like to do is have our student ambassadors introduce themselves first and tell a little, just briefly, what brought you to Chapel Haven. So let's start with Sawyer Moore.
I'm Sawyer Moore. I've been with Chapel Haven for about 7 months. I started in July of 2023, which was this past summer.
Mm-hmm.
And over the varying months, I've experienced a lot, and I've learned how to budget, maintain a part-time job. I've also learned how to keep a tidy apartment.
Yeah.
And then also like housekeeping, along with housekeeping tasks.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you so much.
And I've also learned I've also learned a lot of very important life lessons.
Good. And Luke will be available in the ASAT breakout group so we can chat more with him about the amazing progress he's making. And then I'd like to introduce Debbie Margolis.
Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie Margolis. I am from Westchester, New York. And I guess the long story short is that I thought I was going to stay in Westchester for my whole entire life. But I realized that there's more to the world than Westchester itself. And, I was comfortable enough to spread my horizons, and I ended up here.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. And literally, Debbie is in the conference room at Chapel Haven Schleifer Center this morning. So we thank her so much for joining us. How about Jacob Ross? Can you unmute and introduce yourself?
I am Jacob Ross. I've been here since July of 2023.
And where are you from, Jacob?
Manhattan,
Okay.
Upper East Side.
All right. So Jacob is in the REACH program, and he'll be joining us in the REACH breakout. And thank you, Jacob. And let's talk about our parent ambassadors. How about Carol Glazer?
Thank you, Catherine. Hello, everybody. I am the mother of Jacob Ross. I sometimes call myself the CEO of Jacob Inc. Any of you who are parents know what I'm talking about, although the self-advocates have told me that I am not the CEO of Jacob Inc. He is the CEO of Jacob Inc. I am the COO of Jacob Inc. In any case, I also work in the disability field, so it is not an exaggeration to say that I've seen hundreds of programs that would put themselves in the same category as Chapel Haven, but there is only one Chapel Haven when you consider the quality of the staff, the quality of the administration, the coursework, the life lessons, the facility itself, the courtyard, and so many more things that puts Chapel Haven way above all else I have seen.
Thank you so much, Carol. And it's really funny on my screen with all the little thumbnails, you and Jacob are side by side. So You were meant to be. How about Marika Partridge?
Sorry, a little
That's
awkward here. Sorry, I know how to do that. Good morning, everybody. I'm Marika Partridge. My son, Cheney Ravitz, came in the middle of COVID. He joined in the spring of 2021. I will say, you know, just quick glance back, that was handled very well. Cheney was able to integrate in a very safe way. And then to cut to the chase, he did 2 years of ASAT. He had been on a Waldorf farm in New York State, Triform, before that, where meals were prepared for him. He was more like a family member with like a parent situation in the house. Chapel Haven has done miraculous things with Cheney. He got through ASAT. There's no doubt that the schedule is going to be the 2-year schedule. He did it in 2 years. He has his own apartment. He knows how to do his banking. It took a while, but he got his transportation permission and his transfer permission. And now he is employed at an upholstery company. And I think that the thing that I love so much is that nobody is imposing the choices that Cheney makes on him. Facts are presented and choices are made available. And he's been led by an excellent staff to make great decisions, nuanced decisions. He was working 2 part-time jobs, and he didn't see a reason to leave one of them, but there were reasons that it was good to leave. Nuanced things like, does the one place allow for advancement in your employment? So, and are you able to access the staff if you're doing 2 jobs? So he's cut back to 1 job, and he made that decision himself. And I'm just, you know, super impressed with the way that the staff informs Cheney of the types of choices he can make and give him the ability to make the decision. So he owns his own, you know, path right now. And he's made some really good decisions with some excellent coaching. We live in Maryland, so I don't get up there as often as I'd like to. Thank you.
Thank you, Marika. Yeah, we are definitely an adult program, and we do pride ourselves on having our adults make decisions with coaching. Really, really appreciative to our next parent, Debbie Carroll, whose daughter was in our program and is now living with great independence. Debbie, you want to unmute and say a little bit?
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My daughter Kathleen went to the program 2018 through 21. She had just graduated high school. And when Kathleen started ASAT, she didn't have a driver's license. She had never had a job. She was not very good with daily living skills, and wasn't necessarily excited about going to Chapel Haven at first. But she spent 2 years, and the change has just been transformational. She got her associate's degree from Gateway in auto mechanics while she was at Chapel Haven, and she got her driver's license. And I'm happy to say that Kathleen lives completely independently in Connecticut. My husband and I retired to Maine. She works full-time for Napa. She's completely financially independent and doing really well. She just bought her first new car.
Wow.
She's had a boyfriend of about 2 years, so she's establishing relationships. She still struggles with some daily living activities, but what I really am so grateful to Chapel Haven's ASAT program for is she owns her struggles now with pride, and she asks for help. So when something is challenging for her, she will reach out and say, "Oh, I really need help with this. I'm not sure what to do." And she's open to that help, which has just been a huge transformation for her. So, and I think without the ASAP program, she wouldn't be where she is today. I'm 100% certain of that.
And I have to say, it's really notable that you would take the time to join us because you're, you know, you're an alum. So we really appreciate that. And then finally, for our parent ambassadors, we have Shelley Hartz.
My name is Shelley Hartz. My son Daniel Sugam has been at Chapel Haven for almost 21 years. So I was about 15 when he went there. So, you know, whenever you make choices that affect your life, your children's life, it always comes with risk, but the risk is well worth it. Daniel today is independent. He lives above Debbie. They both own their own condominiums right by campus. He works on campus. For a child that I didn't think could tie his shoes, he, when we lived in New Jersey, he would take the train into Manhattan. We would meet him in Manhattan. Now that we live up in New Hampshire, he takes the train to Boston and we meet him in Boston. He has a life, and I think the reality is that's what we want for all our children. And Chapel Haven gave him that life. And there's not a person there that does, a person being an employee at Chapel Haven, and that word doesn't even really describe who works at Chapel Haven, because they are way more than what we think of as employees. But every one of them knows every single student and community member. And there are a lot of community members to say hello, how are you, what you're doing. And that is extremely reassuring. So, you know, as you're looking to make choices for your children, because they'll always, you know, Daniel's still my child and I still look at him as that, we made the best choice that could ever be by choosing to send our child to Chapel Haven. And again, not without its risks, not without its frustrations. Daniel is the oldest of 3 boys. I will tell you, as a result of Chapel Haven, he's my easiest child. So, you know, it has its, it's make the right choice. And I think Chapel Haven is the right choice.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much to all of our ambassadors for joining us. We're going to get started now with our program overview. And I'm just going to give you a high level look at what we're all about. So again, here's our beautiful campus, which was updated in 2017, a $45 million makeover, and really state-of-the-art teaching, learning, and residential spaces.
Sorry, Catherine, I'm having a little bit of trouble.
Okay. And a little bit about us. We were founded on Chapel Street in New Haven in 1972. So we celebrated our 50th anniversary a year ago. And so, you know, a half century of being in this field and helping adults, empowering adults to live independent and self-determined lives. Maybe Christy can give a go at that PowerPoint. And we moved to Whaley Avenue, which is where we're located now, in 1976. So basically for 51 years, we've been in the same community, which is called Westville. And it's a highly residential community, and easy to walk, easy to get around, easy to take the bus. Lots of perks for being where we are and for being where we are as long as we've been. So here we go. We're catching up here. So this is the house where we were originally founded, and we have a connection to Maplebrook School because the 2 families who founded us are from Maplebrook. And one of their adults, Lori Crass, is in the bottom picture. She's got that blue sweatshirt on, and she still lives in our community all these years later. So in 1976, we did move to Whaley Avenue, where we occupy about 3 acres. And we will be sending you a link to a neighborhood video. One of the things that's hard to show in a virtual presentation is the neighborhood, but we can't understate how welcoming and how great of a neighborhood it is. So when you get that video, you'll have the chance to see that our adults go to synagogue in our neighborhood, they go to church, they work in some of the employers around us. There's a little village right down the street where they do their banking. We're a bus ride away from the major supermarkets. So it's very, very easy and great community, very welcoming community. And this is just a nice neighborhood map. So you can kind of see that everything is within reach, from the Mitchell Library branch to the bank to the post office and the fire station. We have a partnership with the JCC, the Jewish Community Center of Greater New Haven, right up the street. They have a pool. So we probably will never have a pool because we have a beautiful heated indoor pool at the JCC.
And Catherine, can I just add one little piece about the neighborhood too? Is the great thing about our neighborhood is that it is an extension of our learning environment, and we are very well known. I mean, we've been in the community there since 1976, so we're very well known. And the great thing about learning in that environment is then for graduates who go on to stay in the environment, they're able to very smoothly generalize all the skills that they've been learning in the community because it's still the same bus route, it's still the same grocery store, it's still the same bank. So we can talk more about that too, as we get into the sessions as well.
That's a good point. Yeah. So one of the major things that happened is right around 2000, early 2000s, we were getting a lot of phone calls from families whose adults were being diagnosed with, at that time, Asperger's syndrome, high functioning autism, and which is a term that we don't use anymore. But we didn't really have, we were smart enough as a nonprofit to know that you don't just take all of these different populations and put them in one program. And so we sat down with the Yale Child Study Center, and they were doing a lot of diagnostic work, but they didn't have a good transition program at the time that they felt confident recommending. So they turned to us and they said, let's help you create a program. And that is how the ASAT program began. So that's our Asperger's Syndrome Adult Transition Program. And that is actually Cheney, Marika's son on the screen there, graduating from the residential program. And as she mentioned, now he lives in our community and is doing his life. And that is very, very typical of a lot of our residential enrollees. And here's just another look at the campus. And I mentioned that we have expanded quite a bit. And so we are 51 years now in the field and serving adults, a lot of adults from New England, from the tri-state area, but we increasingly are getting students from all over the country. And we do have the F1 visa at Chapel Haven. So we do also sometimes get students from international students. So we have students right now from, trying to remember, Africa and the Caribbean. We've had students from Canada, England, so all kinds of international students. So a couple quick things about us. We are an accredited program through the Commission for the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, or CARF. We are on our 7th cycle of having them give us their highest accreditation, which is their 3-year accreditation. So families that are looking around at programs, a good thing to ask the program is, do you have any accreditations? And generally what that means is that the program has let critical friends come in and measure the program's stakeholder engagement, their program, their curriculum, their health and safety, their physical plant, and give sort of a grade. And we have been doing CARF accreditation for many, many years. We have their highest accreditation. We are also approved as a special education school for young adults who are still on their IEPs, so still in that 18 to 21 age window in Connecticut. The State Department of Education has approved us as a transitional high school. So that's helpful to know. And then we're also an approved vendor through the State Department of Developmental Services, which can be really helpful once the adult becomes a community member at Chapel Haven. There are budgets that DDS provides that can support a lot of what we do. And our adults are anywhere from 18, so you do have to be 18 at Chapel Haven, to our oldest recently celebrated his 71st birthday. So it is a wide range, and we do benchmarks every year to look at average age and things like that. So we have a lot of data, but anywhere from 18 all the way up to early 70s is the age range. And we have 4 core values that we are driven by, and we constantly revisit these, and we celebrate our staff who are embodying dynamic diversity, caring collaboration, individual integrity, and community connection. Our curriculum has been honed over the years by experts in the field, and you're seeing a few on our screen. The Yale Child Study Center with Dr. Volkmar. Dr. Volkmar is on our board and very, very active in Chapel Haven. Michelle Garcia Winner and Pam Crook with their social thinking curriculum. Dr. Lori Sperry is a consultant. So we've been very fortunate to have a lot of expertise. And then this is an organizational chart that gives you some idea of the staff. Michael Storrs, our president, has been with us, I think, 22 years now. He's one of these guys who's done every job in the place. And then Inera Beauvais and on down. Everyone at the senior level has been with Chapel Haven at least 10 years. And I think when we look at our staff as a whole, 150 employees, everyone has been with us. Most of us have been with us at least 5 years. So we have a lot of staff longevity. People who come to Chapel Haven kind of get the bug and really like what they're doing. And all of us are very excited to make a difference every day. And just, we probably should take this slide out, but we're still bragging about it. New Haven was listed in 2023 as one of the 52 top places to visit in the world. So that was a huge plug, and we're still pretty high about that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over now to Christy Chandler, our Director of Admissions, and she's going to talk about what all of the programs have in common, just to give you a snapshot of that.
Thanks, Catherine. So typically whenever a young adult or a family of a young adult calls us, we're trying to determine the best starting point. And so it's usually either through our REACH transition program or ASAT transition program. So in the REACH transition program, those are young adults typically between the ages of about 18 and 30. And you can see some of the common diagnoses that we see listed here. That's not an exhaustive list, but typically what these young adults have in common is that they're very capable young adults, but they do really well learning with concrete systems and routines. Academic levels tend to be elementary to middle school levels, so probably not going to be headed towards a traditional college academic setting, but may go on to do some certificate programming and things like that. And then we also have our ASAT program. And as Catherine mentioned, we do know that the Asperger diagnosis is not in the DSM-5 anymore, but have retained that as kind of part of our acronym. And so we do serve a lot of young adults in this program, again, in that 18 to 30-ish range, who have diagnoses that really center around social communication competencies and executive functioning needs. So typically cognitive profiles for these young adults would be, average to sometimes very high average, though we may see some splinter scores, with weaknesses maybe in some processing speed sometimes or working memory, things like that. So the aim of both of these programs is the same, and I'm going to go in just a second and share, what they have in common. But in the ASAT program, there may be young adults who have college as part of their goals, and that is something that can be incorporated through the programming there. So one of the things we have in common is life skills. So one of the things that we're super proud about at Chapel Haven is that we are a fully comprehensive adult transition program. So we're not set up to be like a modified college program or a college-like experience. We want to equip our adults to be prepared for that end goal of living out in the community like Debbie's daughter is doing, managing their home, having a job, having a community of friends, and knowing how to advocate for help when they need it. And so the life skills that we do at Chapel Haven is all apartment-based. So both programs, students live in actual apartments that are 2 or 3 bedrooms. Everybody has their own bedroom, and then they share the common spaces. And every week they're attending classes or getting small group and one-on-one supports to learn how to do the different skills that you see listed there. They menu plan, they grocery shop based on that menu plan, they budget to be able to buy the groceries that they need. They're learning how to take the bus to get to and from the grocery store. So it's all tied very authentically together. Social communication, that's another really big part of both programs. Both programs do have full-time speech language pathologists that teach classes around these needs, and then also facilitate some small group and some one-on-one interactions. And so it's, sometimes the basics of like reciprocity and how to ask a follow-up conversation. There's a lot about reading the cues, how to tell when somebody's zoned out and they are not with you talking about that video game anymore. And so really wanting our adults to feel comfortable knowing how to navigate adult settings and be able to effectively communicate for themselves in those settings. Community safety, that's a huge piece of what we're working on. We're fortunate that we're in a neighborhood that has a very small town village vibe to it, but it also has access to a lot of community outlets, and public transportation is one of those. So one of the parents I remember mentioned, Marika, about community safety privileges. So in the beginning, our students don't leave campus without a staff person until they have mastered a set of community safety expectations. And so students will work with staff in classes, but also one-on-one to accomplish that. And then gradually they earn pedestrian safety privileges, learn how to take the bus without transfers, the bus with transfers. And we've worked really closely with community neighbors like our police substation to help our adults stay educated on safety practices. We also brought in a director of security and IT probably about a year ago now, who's made some really awesome recommendations and additions to enhance our safety on campus and for our adults out in the community. Fun stuff, that's another big part, right? So, and it's fun stuff like plus, because it is just about having fun, but it's also about facilitating those social interactions as well. So both programs offer activities on the weekends. Some of those are staff facilitated. Some of them are helping the students learn how to initiate and make plans and navigate the negotiation that goes on with, but I like this and you like that. And so what do we figure out to do? What do I do if my friend doesn't show up on time? So the community activities that are offered really vary. Honestly, sometimes I take a look at their rec calendar to see what I should be doing on the weekends because they have so many varied offerings. And then you see the note there too about our residential students all have memberships to the JCC, which is just about 1.5 miles up the road from us that they can use as a wellness and fitness facility too. Work, that's always one of the, I would say, top 3 questions I get from families when they call in. Are they going to learn how to work? And the answer is yes. So both programs start out with typically rotating internships to help with exposure, learning what kind of job setting I like, what I don't like, and also what we call the soft skills. So things you've got to do no matter what your job is to be successful: managing your time, communicating with coworkers, communicating with an employer. And then from there, we work with our career ability team, who I believe you're going to hear more from in just a minute, to start narrowing that focus that's more in alignment with their specific skill set and their interest, with the goal being that by the time they graduate and are living out in the community, that they're ready for competitive employment, as Marika was saying Cheney had achieved. And assessment, that's a big piece of our programs that we're also very proud of. And sometimes as the admissions director, I often ask families to send me information if their young adult is in another program. And sometimes I'm surprised how many places don't have these, but Chapel Haven takes this really seriously. We actually begin assessing the student in the final step of the admissions process. And then once the student is enrolled, after the first 45 days that they've been there, we come together as a team that includes the family, the young adult, all the key staff, and develop the goals and objectives that are going to drive their programming. And then every 6 months come together again as a team to review the progress on those and to make adjustments as needed. So families are getting written reports, and then staff are using a curriculum-based assessment that is going to provide ratings that end up calculating a percentage that correlates with the level of supports they're likely to need as a graduate living out in the community. And then, as mentioned before, college can be a part of the ASAT program. And I will say, we have young adults coming in with such a wide variety of experiences with college. We've had adults come in who've already graduated from college and who, are looking to add in vocational piece to be able to put their education to good use. We have adults who have maybe dabbled in college and perhaps not found that to be super successful for them, and needing more supports around those executive functioning skills, learning how to balance all the different demands. And then we've had students coming right out of high school who maybe aren't even sure yet if they want to try college. So we do have some nice partnerships, kind of informally and formally, with both Gateway Community College and Southern Connecticut State University, which are close to our campus and have been nice pieces. As Debbie was saying, her daughter got her AA from there. We've had other students who have done the same. And then another important piece is just to recognize that no matter where you start, there is a supported graduate community as the long-term option once you have completed your transition programming on campus. And Catherine's going to talk a little bit more about what that can look like.
Okay, thank you, Christy. So after you are done with our residential program and you're living out in our community, we have a supported living program. And then on the Asperger side of the campus, we call it community outreach services, but it's pretty much the same thing. So just a little fact to know that 80% of the adults who start in our residential programs do decide to stay in New Haven and continue to access a la carte support from Chapel Haven. And so our support coordinators work hourly with our community members, and they help them with their budgets and grocery shopping and doctor's visits and whatever they need help with. So we have about approximately 130 adults that live out in the community. And some of those supports that Chapel Haven provides are eligible for DDS or state funding. And on average, a student who comes from that full supervised setting in residence out into the community only needs about 2.5 hours a week of support from Chapel Haven once they're ready to live independently. That's an average. And just another look at some of the different services that we offer to our community members. We help make sure they've paid their bills. We help them keep their apartment tidy. We do some roommate problem solving. And again, we continue with those curriculum-based assessment goals. So we continue to monitor their progress. And adults who live out in the community, who are what we call community members, can continue to be part of our weekend recreation. They can take continuing education classes, which are popular at Chapel Haven, and we can help them with employment and their benefits. One of the options for adults moving out of our residential program is called SAIL. It's right on campus. It's not a new program, but we do have a beautiful new facility. These are for adults who need ongoing support more than just a few hours a week. And there's a list on the screen of some of the services we offer in that program. We also have a community life program, which is our structured day program. This is a program that DDS potentially will fund. And in the community life program, our adults are going out into the community and doing a lot of volunteering. They're doing some social things together, like bowling and going to the movies. And they're just managing their free time productively. So some people go to this full time as, full CLP students. Other people use it to, if they have a day where they don't have anything planned and they just want to do some structured activities, they can join the day program. So that's another option for families to know about. And we do have an amazing employment arm at Chapel Haven known as Career Ability. And I am going to have Ashley Kimball talk a little bit about that program.
Thank you, Catherine. My name is Ashley Kimball. I am a career development advisor. I work within the Career Ability department. We offer a variety of vocational-based programming to our students and community members. Typically, students start with their first year in the residential programs doing some vocational exploration within REACH and ASAT. And then in their second year, we oftentimes have those students come to us in our work-based learning programs. We have two of them, PAVE and retail and intro to food service. Those are internships. PAVE is 5 days a week and retail sales is 3. It allows our students to get those vocational skills in the actual environment. They work directly with a mentor and gain all those valuable skills towards employment. And then, oh, thank you. Catherine Harris there. We have a partnership once students graduate and move into the community. We have a partnership with Ken's Crew. So Catherine Harris there was working at Home Depot. We also have our customized employment program, which we work with local community businesses to find customized and carved positions for our students and community members. And yeah.
So just to linger on that slide for 1 second, I mean, a lot of agencies really struggle to find meaningful employment for their adults, and Chapel Haven struggled too. But in 2017, we were given a $5 million grant from a family foundation that said, figure it out, let's see what it would take to really do employment right. And so Career Ability was founded in 2017, and it is very focused on assessment. So the staff are very skilled at meeting with each adult at Chapel Haven and saying, what do you think you want to do? What do you think you're good at? As Ashley mentioned, you can do some job shadowing, you can do the PAVE program for a year, sort of get some skill development under your belt, and then you can move out into paid employment or volunteer opportunities. And to have achieved 111 paid jobs in that time period, including through COVID, is an astonishing figure. So we're very proud and very confident about our employment program. We also have a program called UArts, which is adults can work with artists to create our spirit wear and to learn how to work on a loom and do some weaving and painting and things like that. So that is an amazing program that is right on our campus. And we have started these, we call them at a glance tours. So the first Thursday of each month, just for 1 hour at lunchtime, people can sign up and come on campus and we will give you a quick 1 hour tour. We do limit the number of people per month for those tours. And so, get back to us and let us know if you're interested. And we have openings as we go further into the spring. It's a great way to come and see what we're all about. And for the admissions process, you have to be 18 when you are at the time of admission to Chapel Haven. And the thing we're most looking for is an adult who really is motivated. They might be scared. There's a lot of homesickness and a lot of jitters, but we are looking for that little kernel of motivation and people who are basically able to handle things in an unsupervised setting. So we do have staff around the clock, but there are times, lots of times, when our adults will not have eyes on them. So we're not what we would call like a line of sight program or a group home. But our admissions process is set up to help us talk with families about what we offer and to figure out if it is the right fit. And we have a pretty comprehensive admissions process. And so you're seeing some emails on the screen there with Christy and our main admission email. So definitely easy to follow up. I'm tripping over my words today.
All right, so Nate's going to stop sharing his screen and I'm going to walk you guys through a brief campus tour of the parts of campus that are shared between the two programs. And then whenever you get into the breakout session, you'll be able to see the more ASAT specific or more REACH specific spaces. So let me get it where you can have a better view. Okay, so this is just a nice view from our courtyard, which a lot of our adults enjoy using, especially in the nicer weather. We've got some activities that happen out there, games and nice rocking chairs. So when a family first arrives, you would come into the Welcome Center here as a waiting space. And then upstairs from that Welcome Center is our cafe, which is run by adults that are graduates of our program, one of whom is Shelly's son. He's there on, I think, a daily basis, working his shift. They serve breakfast and lunch. A lot of our community members really enjoy using the cafe space. It's not so much utilized by meals for students who are in the residential transition program because they are preparing their meals in their apartments. But our grads like to come back to campus, visit, hang out with friends. We celebrate birthday parties. The outreach space, excuse me, space that you're seeing is just through that Tuscan mural there from the cafe. And so it's a nice multi-purpose space that allows us to offer movement-based classes like yoga and Zumba. We also do some CPR and first training classes up there. It's also a nice spot for our theater production. At the end of each term, our Chapel Haven Theater Group puts on a very unique and fantastic production that involves singing and dancing and skits and fabulous costumes. Our art classes also happen up there. When you come and visit campus in person, you'll see the art room I'm going to show you soon is a very small but mighty space, we say. So to give them a little bit more breathing room, a lot of our art classes happen up in that outreach space as well. So downstairs, so everything you've seen so far is in the building where Catherine and Nate and I work. So downstairs from the cafe and the multipurpose room is one of the fitness spaces on campus where students can work out with a trainer or even independently once they've been, certified to use all the equipment safely. In an adjacent building called our sale building, we have a couple of other training spaces. And then our REACH building also has some fitness equipment up on the 4th floor there. So lots of spaces on campus to be able to stay active. In addition to, as we said before, possibly signing up to take some classes at the JCC to be able to use the pool or the climbing wall, the basketball courts there. So this is Tina's tiny art room. As Catherine mentioned, we've had fantastic renovations happen to the majority of our campus over the last, gosh, I can't believe it's 5 years now. And we're in the early stages of planning for some new renovations that are hopefully going to give her a beautiful, light-filled art room after all her years in the basement. She teaches all kinds of classes from expressive painting to ceramics. She does have a kiln where she can fire glazed pieces, jewelry making. And then one class that she's developed that we're especially proud of is called Out to Art. And so they have had about a 10-year collaboration now with the Yale Center for British Art, where the students go to the museum and work with the docents and educational staff to learn about artists and different techniques, and then make their own art in response to that. And I know Debbie was in that group a couple of years ago whenever they were able to curate their own show from the museum's permanent collection and, talk about why they selected pieces and what they meant to them. So it's just been really fantastic. We're really, really proud of Tina and the group for that. Okay, so what is going to happen next is Nate is going to split you up into breakout sessions so that you can hear more from the parent and student ambassadors associated with these two programs and get to learn a little bit more of the nitty-gritty, see some more campus spaces. So as a reminder, the REACH program serves young adults with mild developmental intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy. And then the ASAT program is designed for adults who typically don't have a language impairment or intellectual impairment as part of their profile, but maybe has some executive functioning, social communication needs. Based on your registration for today's event, we have set you up to be in the groups that you see here. If it turns out that you've listened to this presentation and you think, I picked the wrong session, not a problem. Just send a message to Nate and tell him where you want to be. There were a couple of you when you signed up that weren't sure which program you wanted to learn more about. So if you would please also send a message to Nate and let him know your preferred breakout session. And then lastly, if you don't see your name anywhere on this list, please tell Nate what session that you would like to be in. And then from our breakout sessions, we will be wrapping things up. So once your breakout session is finished, you can feel free to navigate to the bottom of your screen, and it'll ask you to leave both the breakout session and then pop you to the main session where you can leave the event from there.
Oh, Christy.
Yes, sir.
So my mom